the most beautiful women in the world, on one of the most deserted beaches of the Baltic. Welcome to Liepāja. I come from Palanga, in Lithuania. There, an atmosphere of luxury reigns, elegant people, crowded terraces, a posh seaside resort. There's a particular buzz, a local jet set, people showing off their vacations. You cross the border and arrive in Liepāja, and the contrast is striking. The beach is nearly empty. Mountains of seaweed, crows circling overhead, a strong smell of sea and salt air. The wind blows sideways, relentlessly. No rows of sunbeds, no loud music, no tourists snapping photos every 2 meters. There's space. Lots of space. And a raw, almost wild atmosphere. But suddenly you look up, and you spot the girls. One walks by and you wonder where you are. Another arrives by bike. Another strolls along the shore, with that cold, pure beauty typical of the north. The contrast is almost surreal, a rugged, windswept, unforgiving landscape, and women of angelic beauty. Fellow traveler, living conditions here aren't easy. The climate is demanding. The wind blows constantly. The beach isn't made for photos. Even on sunny days, you feel the harshness of the Baltic. But that's precisely what gives it its particular charm. Liepāja doesn't try to please. It doesn't dress up its best for visitors. And yet, between the smells of the sea, the seaweed, and this Baltic wind, you'll discover one of the most striking contrasts in this part of Europe. Few people come here. And it shows. If you like this kind of destination, subscribe and like. On the practical side, the city is fairly well connected. Buses leave daily for Lithuania and Riga. Getting around isn't complicated with a bit of planning. The train, however, is surprising. There's only one per day to Riga, and it leaves very early, at 4:40 a.m. If you want to catch that train, you really have to get up early. It's the kind of thing that reminds you you're in a secondary city, not a capital built for tourists. Fellow traveler, Liepāja has its own character, but at the same time, you feel a connection to Lithuania. The two countries share a lot, but also show notable differences. Historically, Lithuania and Latvia have been linked through the Baltic region, through the influence of great powers, and through periods of shared domination, particularly during the Soviet era. Both regained their independence in the early 1990s and have since followed similar paths: European integration, economic development, and strong national identity. Culturally, there are similarities. The mentality is reserved, the climate shapes character, and the relationship to nature and the sea is important in both societies. They also share this feeling of being small countries deeply attached to their identity. But differences exist. Lithuania carries particular historical weight, tied to the former Grand Duchy and closer relations with Poland at certain periods. Latvia, meanwhile, shows a stronger German and Swedish influence in certain regions, as well as a different demographic makeup, particularly in the major cities where the Russian-speaking presence is more visible. And then there's the language. Although both belong to the Baltic language family, they aren't mutually intelligible as one might think. Lithuanian and Latvian are sister languages, but quite different. A Lithuanian doesn't automatically understand a Latvian, and vice versa. There are common roots, a few similar words, but in practice, these are two distinct languages. Lithuanian is also considered one of the most archaic living languages in Europe, with very ancient structures. Fellow traveler, crossing the border between Palanga and Liepāja in a short time lets you feel these differences in atmosphere. From a more refined and lively seaside resort, you move to a wilder, windier, and much less touristy coastal city. The change is immediate. Let's now talk about practical matters: cost of living and possible activities during a vacation. Liepāja is notably cheaper than Northern Europe's established tourist destinations. Eating out won't break the bank. You'll find main dishes at reasonable prices in local restaurants, especially if you avoid the few touristy spots. You'll find restaurants offering home-style cooking, fish, soups, and hearty dishes that will fill you up without ruining you. Cafes are also affordable, unlike Riga or other Western European cities. A beer, a coffee, or a simple meal won't cost you a fortune, unlike more crowded destinations. For a coastal city, the prices are reasonable. As for activities, don't expect a packed schedule of tourist attractions. Here, the pace is different. Walking along the beach, braving the wind, exploring downtown, sitting at a cafe and soaking up the local rhythm. There's a promenade, wide pedestrian areas by the sea, and a few cultural spaces. You can also simply explore the city on foot, since the distances are reasonable and the center isn't very large. If you enjoy wandering without a specific goal, admiring the architecture, stepping into a random cafe, and watching people go by, Liepāja is made for you. On the other hand, if you're looking for non-stop parties, plenty of organized tours, and everything geared toward tourists, you might be disappointed. The city isn't perfect. It's neither the most comfortable nor the most photogenic. The wind can be tiring at times. The weather isn't always good, and tourist options are limited. But it has character. And in a region where places increasingly look alike, that's a valuable asset. If you're into this kind of destination, the ones that don't make the usual lists, feel free to like and subscribe. We keep exploring the lesser-known corners of the Baltic Sea. See you next time for a new destination.